Hello, everybody, and welcome to Virtual TrekCon with Cirroc Lofton, of course.
Hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today, we have the return of Brian Volk Weiss. Finally, Brian has returned to cyberspace.
Hello, good to be back.
I was like,
Cirroc, I gotta say, you got the best caps, man. You every time I see you, you got an even better cap.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. This one is representing the neighborhood I grew up in Melrose, near Melrose and Fairfax. So this is one of theirs.
Great flea market.
The great flea market that my dad used to sell rugs in, like when I was a kid. I remember going with him to set up his own little shop inside of that flea market, and he sold Native American rugs that he got from the reservation years ago, like 35 years ago.
This isn't Star Trek. I hope this is okay. I used to have a friend who worked there, and she would sell soap. Whenever I had a friend from town, me and her would pretend we didn't know each other. So I'd like look at all the soaps, and then my out-of-town friend, he and I would walk away, and I'd be like, dude, check this out. And I'd put my hand out so he couldn't see it. So he'd put his hand out, and the soap, like I stole it, in his hand. And right then, my friend who was in on it, she would be like, hey, did you steal my soap? And then I'd like all but run away. And then my poor friend from God knows where is like holding the stolen soap. My friend Corey's screaming at him. Anyway.
I love it.
Oh,
that was a long time ago.
That is very Star Trek relevant. Cirroc and I have Star Trek soaps given to us recently at the Nichelle Nichols farewell convention tour. It smelled great.
I need one of those. I have a Make It soap from the Kimmel Center or whatever that thing's called. But I would get a Nichelle Nichols soap.
Mm-hmm. You should.
Yeah, make it soap. I didn't.
Oh.
What shape is that in? Is it a communicator or like a what shape is the soap in? The Make It soap.
That's why I love doing these from here.
There it is.
Make it soap.
It's very, very simple.
That's all you need right there.
Very nice. Very nice. So for all your soaping needs, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got.
Right.
Okay, so everybody at home, you know Brian Volk Weiss from this thing that kind of changed the world for like a week or two on Netflix. At least for me, it was The Toys That Made Us. Suddenly it was just all over Netflix and all over everywhere. And I got sucked in because He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers later on. I mean, Star Trek, Star Wars. I was like, this guy is talking my language.
I had to fight for that episode.
Which one? Star Trek?
Star Trek. Yeah, they're all like, why aren't you doing Power Rangers? Why aren't you doing Marvel superheroes? And I didn't know if they'd let me make more. So I'm like, oh, we got to do Star Trek. Got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, all right, you know boys. But I do think I was a little biased in my passion.
That's a good question for you, actually. I got a question for you, Brian. Out of all these toys that you did all this research on, which franchise do you think has sold the most toys?
I mean, without a doubt, Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars in a bad year, without any exaggeration. Like if they have a year without a new movie, without a new TV show, that's a bad year for Star Wars. It will outsell every other toy, most of which even combined. It's the thing.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing.
Wow. That's how George Lucas got so rich.
Well, yeah. He appealed to kids and toys.
Yeah.
You also did the movies that made us, which we did not get a chance to cover before, but I did a quick search over it recently, and it was like all these 80s movies. Let me see if I can pull it up. Man, Dirty Dancing, Home Alone, Ghostbusters, Die Hard, Back to the Future, Pretty Woman, Forrest Gump, Aliens, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Coming to America, Friday the 13th. I mean, it goes on and on. Like, anybody that hears the list of toys and the list of movies is like, this guy gets it. This guy gets it. He's talking my language.
In the right age group, by the way, that's true.
All age groups.
Yeah, my daughter, who's 8, was like, "Why do you do all this old stuff?" That's your point of view, sweet.
I mean, you wouldn't have the new stuff if you didn't have the old stuff. A lot of the new stuff is literally borrowing on the stuff we grew up on. Like, we grew up reading X-Men comic books, and now that whole franchise is like, has so many spin-offs and derivatives.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And by the way, what I said to my daughter was, you know what? Maybe 30 years from now, you're doing what I'm doing for the 80s for the 2020s. Mm-hmm. Like, you never know. Mm-hmm. And I also reminded her how the food ends up in the refrigerator. So maybe she should not criticize my job too much.
You're gonna do a documentary and the food that made you.
Yeah. the movies that made the food that's in your fridge.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great.
Okay.
No, I think I want to see that. So what was it like for you, kind of revisiting those movies? Because the list of movies you just went off on, Ryan, are like all classics for me. I think I've had a VHS copy or DVD of each one of those movies at some point or time or another. What was it like revisiting it?
And also, what's VHS? No, I'm just kidding.
It was like every movie was different, because the thing that was so amazing, for example, like Back to the Future. I've seen Back to the Future conservatively 150, 200 times, right? Like, you talk to these people, like I'm talking to Ken Ralston, and Ken Ralston, he did the special effects. Ken Ralston's like, "Oh, we rushed that shot so much. I was so embarrassed by it. I can't even look at it." And I'm like, "Ken, I've seen the movie 200 times. Like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "Brian, you never noticed after the DeLorean jumps at the end for the last time back to the present, you never noticed the fire on the wire?" And I go, I know there's fire on the wire. What's wrong with it? He's like, "Yeah. You never noticed it's like a good 3 inches above the wire?" I'm like, "No."
Now so we're all going to look.
But he's right. And of course he's right. But like, I look at it now and I'm like, yeah, holy shit, it's completely off. Like, it's like literally nowhere near the wire. So like, that's what's always so cool about the show is like, or making the show, I should say, like, you're talking to people and they tell you things about stuff you've seen 1,000 times, and then you just look at it completely differently. That's what is so amazing about making the show. Like Dirty Dancing, I grew up watching that movie. Like, every time we were alone with the boys and girls, the boys would watch Star Wars with the girls, and then the girls would watch Dirty Dancing with the boys. So I've actually seen that movie a staggering amount. Like, that movie was filmed in 2 completely different locations, and then seamlessly through movie magic blended together. So like, I literally now cannot see a scene. There are scenes in the movie where like you see 2 characters walking 50 feet, and like the first 30 feet are in North Carolina. The last 20 feet are in upstate New York. And like, I can't watch the movie anymore without noticing that.
So you can pick it out then.
Yeah,
you can.
Okay. Exactly. So that's what's so cool about making it.
Wow.
Is it? I mean, I guess it's kind of like talking to the magician about the magic trick.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. The other thing which is also crazy about it is like, you start to get to meet these people and know these people. Like, I'm texting with like Nancy Allen now. Like, when in a million years my friendship with Gates McFadden, like, when did that happen? Like, it's just so weird how like your life, and then you have a job, And then at some point, if you're lucky like I am, they start to, hit each other and develop from there. I mean, it's really wild.
Totally. Can I just point out very quickly, though, before we move on from the topic of these movies, Ghostbusters is the most quotable movie of all time, in my opinion. The Grimace says you don't agree, but I think it is. I think a lot of people will say The Big Lebowski, but I think Ghostbusters is the most quotable.
I would go with Aliens or A Few Good Men.
Game over, man. I think that's what...
It's like, it's funny to that point, like everybody always quotes him with that. Like my favorite line in that movie, and I couldn't even tell you why. It's where they're in the room at the end. It's right before Paul Reiser kind of locks them in the room, and they're looking at the motion tracker, and it's like, 20 feet. And it's this weird line where you hear Sigourney Weaver go, "That's impossible. That's inside the room."
Yeah.
And it's like, to me, that's the scariest moment in the whole movie. And then Cameron points up and it's like, oh, they're in the ceiling. Yeah. So like everyone always quotes Game Over, Man, or Let's Rock. But like it has so many obscure lines. We're in the pipe 5x5.
Or why don't you put her in charge?
That's, by the way, there's such a good line that got cut out. Have you seen that scene with the motion tracking guns that are just mowing have you ever seen that? It's a cut scene.
No, not the cut scene.
It's one of the greatest cut scenes of all time. They have these two kind of Gatling guns with motion sensors, and there is a 90-second scene where you see these two guns in a hallway just obliterating hundreds of aliens. And it keeps cutting to these laptops that show you how many bullets the guns have left and how hot the barrels are getting. Cool. There's actually 4 guns, and the first 3 guns run out of bullets, and they're all getting ready to shoot. They're getting their guns ready, and the last gun only has 10 bullets left, and the aliens stop, and then it cuts to Bill Paxton. He goes, "Well, maybe we got them demoralized." I know it was cut from the movie.
Yes, that's the best line
from the whole movie. So good.
So that
would have been the best line right there. Maybe we got them demoralized.
All right.
Wow.
Well, we've got to talk about Center Seat now, right? Because this is the big Star Trek convention. This is the big Star Trek docuseries. The Center Seat, 55 years of Star Trek. We talked about it a little bit before when you joined us on the 7th Rule, which was awesome. Are we allowed to ask what's next? Are you allowed to divulge that? Because everybody wants to know it.
Where the show, I still feel like it's a little premature because the show's still rolling out internationally. Like we just premiered in England on Friday. Like the feedback has been fantastic for the most part. I know everybody's mad at me. I didn't interview fans, but by the way, can I tell you guys the greatest thing? And Sirach, I don't know if you have this at all. You probably don't because you're in front of the camera, but I am in so many groups, Facebook groups, all these groups, and I have been forever. And I never comment. So like they don't even know like I'm there.
Good.
And I've been in them forever. And then it starts talking about Center Seat. And I'm just, I could get an apple or something, literally or metaphorically. I'm like, I'm just reading all this stuff going back and forth. And it's like, I feel like I'm in like people's private chats.
Yeah.
But the show seems to have been very well received. I read everything. Like I know I'm not supposed to, but I always do. I feel like it's like about 85% of the fans dig it. That inspires me to want to make more. We have a lot going on right now, like a lot. We have 10 series in production, which is the most we've ever had. So
wow.
If we do more, and that's a big if, it probably won't be for a couple years. Maybe it'll be closer to the 60th. I don't know. I really, really want to do the next gen cast films very badly. But the other problem I have, if I'm being honest, try being diplomatic. I really like doing things that are love letters to the topic. I really don't want to ever be doing anything that's, for lack of a better expression, punching down.
Mm-hmm.
After JJ's first movie, I don't know if I'm the right guy to be directing documentaries. Like, that's how I'll put it. Like, I feel like someone else should be, like, I love JJ's first Trek film, love it.
Mm.
But after that, I don't know if I'm the right guy.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
By the way, I would do Lower Decks. I would absolutely do Lower Decks. And I actually really like, what's the Janeway one?
Oh,
Prodigy.
Prodigy, yeah.
Prodigy. I like Prodigy a lot too. So if I could do Next Gen cast, the first JJ, not the second, not the third, skip Discovery, skip Picard, and then do Lower Decks and Prodigy. I think I'm the right guy for that. Maybe.
What about short treks?
Yeah, I could probably do shorts.
Me and Ryan want to be there when you do basketball.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Ryan's signing up for that. I know I am.
Mm-hmm.
Any basketball.
Any
I don't
basketball.
know if you're a fan. Any basketball. It's covering with however you want. I'm down for that.
Whenever I play basketball with a new group of people, I'm always the first or second picked. If that same group of people plays the second game, I'm always the last person.
They're like, this guy tricked us. He had some good shoes on. We thought for sure you.
It's not the shoes; it's the height. That's you can't tell. I'm 6'3", so that's why I'm always drafted first, but not the second game.
You know, you're the only person I think that I can think of that has a connection to Kevin Hart, Cat Williams, and Star Trek. Like those are very different ends of the spectrum. And I think that's interesting.
You mentioned is a big Trekkie.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Cat Williams.
It is Cat. I was gonna say it's not.
No way.
That's awesome. Yeah, I couldn't imagine it was Kevin.
That's news. I didn't know that. That's news to me.
By the way, I tried so hard to get Dwayne to do our Voyager episode, but I did not succeed.
That
would have been cool. People would have loved it.
Oh my God, I would have loved it. I would have loved it. That's news right there. Wow. Cat Williams, Star Trek guy.
Brian,
you never know.
Are there any other hilarious comedians or otherwise that people don't know are secretly Star Trek fans?
Moshe Kesher is a massive Trekkie. Like every time we work with him, like you always give like a gift at the end of the shoot. His always has a Galaxy class starship on the cake or on the like it's always
classy.
Nice. He's not even a Trekkie, he's like a next Jenny. Trying to think who else. I mean, it's not a comedian. Coolio is a huge fucking Trekkie.
Really?
Huge.
This is great stuff, man.
Yeah. Huge.
Oh wow.
Do you ever have this where you're
he
talking
lived to
to
see
someone?
24, by the way.
What's that?
He lived to see 24. He wasn't sure the way things were going. He didn't know, but he did.
I'm trying to think who else is a big Trekkie that's pretty on the DL about it. Yeah, but I mean Coolio. I mean, I consider myself like a 7.5 out of 10 fan. Coolio's like a 9. Like,
you know what's funny? It's funny you're saying this, Brian, because Coolio was on a basketball team that I played on in this entertainment league, NBA entertainment league. And we were on the same team. And now that you say that, I'm thinking back about the times we hung out together. Like he would invite me over to his house and say, "Come over, let's play video games. Let's just chill." And I was like, "Oh, Coolio wants to hang out." I didn't think much of it. But now that you say that, because he never mentioned anything about Star Trek, never said anything about it. I think he bought some rims, some wheels off of me. I had some like wheels that I was selling. He's like, "You got rims? I'll buy them." So it was hilarious that you say this about Coolio now.
It's funny. I was working on something with and whenever I'm working with talent that I don't know, I always try and find something to bond with. I knew he was a Trekkie, so I just went up to him and I talked like, "Hey, I'm Brian, blah blah blah." We had some other friends in common, and I was like, "By the way," and I slipped in some Star Trek, and he was like, he didn't take the bait, as they say, but he was like, "Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool." I was like, "Yeah, I have a pretty good collection." And like I said, he didn't really jump at it or anything. I'm like, "All right, cool, whatever." Literally about 3 hours later, I'll never forget this. I'm at craft service and I just feel someone, your radar goes off like, "The fuck are you so close to me? Who is this?" I turn around and it's Coolio, like literally standing right behind me, and next to me. And he was like, "What kind of Trek are you?" I could not believe him, like absolutely. It was literally like, I'm like, I gotta go.
He's an intimidating guy. So like, I could see him saying that like in this really tough kind of like gangster way. Like, "What hood you from? What set you claim? What's
yes.
It was like that. Yeah. So we're just sitting there, and by the way, I was producing the thing we were doing, and I literally see like 1, 2, 3 department heads needing to talk to me. And Coolio was like, and then the Romulans came in. Coolio, I'll be right back. As surreal as this has been, I do need to talk to people for a second. Yeah. And he's a real Trekkie. Like real
wow.
Trekkie.
Love it.
And you know what's funny? I always say I have the best kind of fame you could have. I am only famous in toy stores. So I have like complete freedom everywhere else. But the thing which is so interesting to me, like I'm equally into Star Wars as much as I am Star Trek. And Batman and G.I. Joe are only right behind those two. Like I was at a toy store in Nashville 2 days ago. Actually, no, yesterday. And like literally, guy comes up to me, "Nice to meet you. I love your shows. Oh, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah." All he wants to talk about is Star Trek. 8 out of 10 fans, if they talk to me, and I even feel stupid calling them fans, but if people want to talk to me, it's 80% of the time about Star Trek.
The way it should
really?
be.
Yeah.
Not about the toys, or they wanted to do Star Trek toys or Star Trek the
both.
show?
Just both. It's always Star Trek. Like no one ever wants to talk to me about He-Man. Thank God, compared to Star Trek, I don't know that much.
He-Man is awesome, though.
But I love it now. I didn't love it. I had to be talked into doing that episode, by the way, and now I have a 200 He-Man collection. Yeah,
Right.
You might be surprised to hear this. I'm more into lasers and shields than I am into swords and shields.
He-Man had lasers. Just saying.
Well, it's so funny you say that. That's what I didn't understand when I was a kid, that while I was making the episode, I did learn. I don't think they ever figured out how the swords and lasers were supposed to interact with each other. Totally. If I had more criticism.
Totally.
About a very bizarre show. People are always like, "How come every time they try and bring it back, it doesn't work?" I'm like, because it shouldn't have worked the first time.
It didn't really work the first time. Skeletor was kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But no, it's always interesting. Like people really eat, sleep, and breathe Star Trek, because a lot of the times when people come up to me and start talking about Star Trek, a lot of the things that motivate them to talk to me is they want to ask me a question about an answer I had given on a podcast or so they'll be like, 3 years ago you were doing this, but I'm like, okay, remind me, what did I say? And they'll be like, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I said that because so I don't have that with Star Wars or anything else. It's really
Wow.
interesting.
Oh, wow. Wow. Because you would think Star Wars has the kind of a similar fan base. You see them like lining up and, spending a lot of money, obviously, on toys and merchandise. So
Yeah.
you would think they have that same kind of passion. But I guess Star Trek is more of a world in which people believe that they can actually be a part of and that it can actually be realized, right? Star Wars is more fantasy to me, less
Science
practical
fantasy.
science fantasy, as opposed to some kind of tangible reality that we may actually be able to move towards in Star Trek, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems more believable a little bit.
And He-Man seemed to have no genre. It was like part fantasy, but they also had spaceships and lasers. It was like they had no idea.
It was Tarzan in space.
But then like I said, it was like sci-fi and fantasy and all kinds of. It was.
I'm not like some crazy cartoon guy expert or anything, but like I've always wanted to make a doc that was like literally called something like, and this would be about all those animated shows from like 1979 to maybe 1989. It kind of ended, the beginning was kind of like G.I. Joe-ish and He-Man. Mm-hmm. And it ended before X-Men and Batman, the animated series, because those, for lack of a better expression, those were good, like in a classic sense of the term good. So I've always wanted to make a doc about like Brave Star, He-Man, and all of these. And the
Thundercat.
Thundercat. Like there was a cartoon, I don't know the name of it, greatest cartoon ever. A physical metal real car could transform into a little boy made of flesh and bone. I forgot, like, so the doc I'd love to do would be called "What Were They Smoking?"
And Smurfs. That's good for Smurfs.
The thing that always cracks me up about that era is like, and you forget this now, but it's like, oh, I'll watch Voltron, and you hit play, and then it's like, oh, Optimus Prime is apparently the VO guy for Voltron. So you're hearing Optimus Prime tell you the story, and it's like the Shredder's voice is now the narrator for Brave Star, like, and it's just this weird, just throwing shit against the wall. Who cares?
Well, what you could do is you could focus on the Japanese animation that came out of like Robotech. And those kinds of, that was a whole thing by itself.
That's a real doc that I will hopefully
Akira.
No, just Robotech.
Robotech was my favorite cartoon back in the day. I'm
curious, do you understand what Sunbow did with Robotech? Do you guys know what they did? Most people don't understand this.
It was serialized.
They took 3 completely different cartoons that had nothing to do with each other, except peripherally, every now and then had the same characters. They took those 3 cartoons and combined them into a brand new cartoon that had absolutely nothing to do with the prior 3 cartoons. And you will literally be watching, quote unquote, our version of Robotech. And you'll see like the general and the girl with the purple hair walking through a conference room into a hallway. And again, the talking is all the same. They're wearing completely different clothing between the conference room and the hallway. Their hairstyles are different. Like you don't
I never paid attention to that.
But dude, it happens every 40 to 50 seconds where like, because they're just cutting. So it's like somebody wrote a script and then a bunch of people just went through 3 different series and we're like, oh, we need 2 people in a hallway. Okay. Then we need them going to the bridge. Okay. Hey, does it matter that she's wearing a skirt in the hallway and
Doesn't
pants on
matter.
it? Nah.
It's kids. What do kids know?
That's Robotech.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
if you watch it
Robotech.
on Netflix right now, you'll see it. And it's impossible
Wow.
not to notice, but so few people understand that.
I wasn't looking for that when I was watching it. I'm in the world, so I'm not
Me
not
too.
seeking it. I'm not looking. Hey, what is the lighting like, or what are the colors
Yeah.
like? I'm literally lost in the dialogue. You know.
Yeah.
Me too.
I
I had seen the whole thing twice before I knew that. And I never noticed that before I knew it.
Wow.
Well, guys,
Yeah.
can't believe it. We're already out of time. It's time to. Here's the thing, Brian, we really hope you come back sometime soon to talk a Deep Space Nine episode with us.
I love doing this show.
Because
we love you.
80s movies, cartoons,
all the stuff.
Star Trek, Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, toys. This is like,
Yeah.
we could talk to you for 6 hours, but we won't. So hopefully
way,
we'd love to have you back soon.
I can't say what it is, but not to be that guy, but we are working on something right now. I mean, I can't even believe it's happening. So we're going to hopefully announce it in a month or two, but hopefully it will make both of you and your listeners, viewers, very happy.
Wow.
Well, come on the show and break the story when you're ready to.
Yeah.
I would love to do that very much. I love your show.
Thanks.
We
love having you, honestly.
Man, Brian, you got so much information, so much knowledge, so much insight on all of these things that we all grew up on. I mean, literally things that we grew up on, and walking down memory lane with you is a joy. And you're a fantastic storyteller. So it just only seems right that you're in this business doing your thing, telling stories. You're a fantastic storyteller. I could listen to you all day and keep it going, man. We're watching and we're paying attention.
Yep. This is a guy that went into the right career field. No doubt
You're
about
very
it.
kind. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, thanks very much, Brian Volk Weiss. Everybody stay tuned. In a month or two, big news is coming. Tell Brian on social media what a great job he's doing, and talk some jive in the Star Trek Facebook group. See if he's listening. See what happens. See if eventually he snaps back. We'll see what happens.
By the way, I forgot. Oh, I wish I remember what it was, but there was some guy commented something. And I just couldn't resist. And I was like, I just want to say, I respect your opinion,
but
you're entitled to your opinion, but
a lot of times people are like, he should have done this, he should have done that. And I'm always like, well, I could have done this, I could have done that, but I also didn't have a 4-hour episode. So
exactly.
Them's the breaks. But anyway, thank you for having me back. Always a lot of fun.
Can't wait to have you back, man. Really, really love having you. Thank you so much. You're super unbelievably busy, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your day for us. We hope to see you again real soon. And everybody at home, stick around. We actually have the closing ceremonies coming up in just a few minutes. So hop over to that next video. And it's been a great virtual TrekCon. Brian Volk Weiss, thank you very much. Sirach will be on the other side. See you soon.
Bye, guys. Thank you.